In this video, you will see what is the top 10 must-have units in Update 14. Every units in this video are all obtainable and not from trading. I do want to know what is your top 10 must-have units in Update 14. Remember to subscribe and like. And with that being said, in no particular order, the first must-have unit is Pride the One. Escanor is still the best ground unit in this Update 14, with its insane late game stats, with Escanor having one of the biggest full AoE circle and having a low SPA cooldown and insanely strong damage per second. Pride the One stats a max upgrade and max level are 57,525.41 damage, following his SPA at 6.5 seconds, making his damage per second at 8,850, but with his Sunshine passive max, his new damage per second is 19,921. At later upgrades, he will become a hybrid unit, making him attack both ground and air enemies. I suggest placing Pride the One as soon as possible, as he buffs himself permanently from placement for 15 waves. The best trait you can have on Pride the One is Unique, and alternative traits you can have on him is Double Snipers and Divine. Pride the One's damage types are Physical and Fire. I only recommend to bring Pride the One in waves that are 20 or longer. Alright, next unit is Usup God. Usup is the best boss killer compared to the other heal and hybrid units, especially he is a hybrid unit, which means he will be able to attack both air and ground enemies. Usup God's stats at max upgrade and max level are 414,182.93 damage, with his SPA at 5 seconds, making his damage per second at 82,836.59, which is the highest damage and damage per second unit in this game currently. Oh my goodness. Usup God is still the best boss killer in this Update 14, with his plants doing insane amount of damage, so I definitely recommend getting this unit. Usup God's attack type are true damage and air, which he will ignore yellow shield and be insanely good for Infinity Castle, as it will ignore resistance. Okay, next unit is Tengen, God of Flashiness. Tengen is one of the best ground units in this Update 14 because at later upgrades, you will be able to hit both ground and air enemies, which is insanely overpowered, as well as having a full AoE. Sheesh! Tengen, God of Flashiness stats at max level and max upgrade are 224,526 damage, with his SPA at 11 seconds, making his damage per second at 20,411.45, which is incredibly good, especially with his full AoE. Although his range needs more range. Despite of Tengen having some cons, the unit itself is still pretty strong, especially at later upgrades. He will become a hybrid unit, making him attack both air and ground enemies, as well as having the nail relic equipped on Tengen, God of Flashiness will be the best relic to have equipped on him. Alright, next unit is Stain Hero Slayer, who is one of the new units added in this Update 14, and he is one of the best DPS ground unit, as the ability that he will get at later upgrades is extremely overpowered. Stain Hero Slayer's stats on max upgrade and max level are 91,870 damage, with his SPA at 5.6 seconds, making his damage per second at 16,405.35. It may not seem a lot, but after I explain what his ability do, you will be convinced that he is the best ground unit. How Stain Hero Slayer works with his ability is whenever Blood Curdle is activated, Stain's damage will deal 3 times more damage to every bleeding enemy inside his range. The ability can crit 4.5 times more of Stain's current damage, as well as it will stun enemies for 2 seconds. This ability is not a global ability, which technically you can spam it. There is a 10 seconds cooldown on enemies who have been affected by the ability, and the ability cooldown is 20 seconds. Stain Hero Slayer will be extremely good when pairing him with bleeding units, especially Unohana. Even though she is no longer obtainable and you can only get her through trades, she will be essential to have, especially she can hit air enemies at later upgrades, which Blood Curdle will attack any enemies that's bleeding. So maybe Hanj or Leafy would also be good pairing with Stain Hero Slayer. Stain Hero Slayer's damage types are Physical and Dark. Okay, next unit is Oshi Idol. It suddenly became an obtainable unit through the special banner in this Update 14, which made a lot of previous Battle Pass owners mad, especially Anime Adventures made Oshi obtainable through the banners, although you can trade the Oshi you got From the Battle Pass, Oshi Idol is incredibly broken, as Oshi Idol's buffs your units by 15% damage and making the upgrade cost 20% less, which is insanely good. You can place Oshi Idol anywhere in the map and your units will still be buff. Oshi's Idol's passive only work on you and not other teammates. Alright, next unit is Mammy Holy. Mammy is one of the best ground units in update 14, especially at later upgrades. Mammy will be able to hit both air and ground enemies. Mammy Holy stats at max upgrade and max level are 193,285 damage with her SPA at 9 seconds, making her damage per second at 21,476.15, which is insanely good, especially she has such a large AoE circle, which means she will be able to attack more enemies with her huge AoE circle. And at later upgrades, Mammy Holy will become a multi-hit, making her strong against shield enemies. Mammy Holy's damage types are magic and light. Sheesh. Okay, next unit is Fuji Admiral. Fuji is still the best physical heal unit and the strongest heal unit in this update 14, especially with his 2-hit outplacement, making him great against shield enemies and overall a good heal unit. Fuji Admiral's stats at max upgrade and max level are 157,205.43 damage with his SPA at 11 seconds, making his damage per second at 14,291.4, which makes Fuji Admiral the best physical heal and overall the best heal unit, especially with how cheap he is to max upgrade with an insane damage and one of the best shield breaker heal unit, as he is a 2-hit placement and will do multi-hit at later upgrades. If you're a pay-to-win player, then I definitely recommend getting unique trait on Fuji Admiral. Even though he is a 4 placements, Fuji Admiral having unique will still be worth it, as his damage will still be one of the best, especially he is going to be a must-have unique for higher rooms in Infinity Castle. Fuji Admiral costs 66,500 yen to max upgrade one single Fuji Admiral, and his damage types are physical and dark. An alternative unit you can go for instead of Fuji Admiral is Metal Knight Arsenal. Metal Knight is one of the best heal units, especially he has an insane multi-hit and summons drones in this update 14. Metal Knight Arsenal stats at max upgrade and max level are 129,881 damage with his SPA at 6.1 seconds, making his damage per second at 21,291.96. Remember that Metal Knight Arsenal can only be placed down twice, making unique trait on Metal Knight is the best trait. The drones will deal half of Metal Knight's damage, and at later upgrades, Metal Knight will become a multi-hit which will do well against shield enemies. You will be needing takedowns for Metal Knight to spawn his drones, and there is a tracker at the back on how many takedowns he got. To fully max upgrade one Metal Knight Arsenal will cost you 118,250 yen, and his damage types are Magic and Storm, which makes Metal Knight a must-have for Magic Infinity Castle rooms. Okay, next unit is Law Room. Law is one of the best units to bring in Infinity Castle, not only because of his ability, but how surprisingly cheap he is to max upgrade, which will be useful in Infinity Castle, leaderboard runs, and many more in this update 14. Law Room stats at max upgrade and max level are 150,141 damage with his SPA at 5.9 seconds, making his damage per second at 25,447.62, which is incredibly strong for a support unit, as he has an ability at placement called Shambles, where when activated, the enemies will be teleported back, which is insanely strong, and he is a better Lulu Gias, and that means Law Room will be valuable in Infinity Castle and leaderboard runs with his Shamble ability. The Shamble ability affects air, ground enemies, and bosses, which is insanely strong. Law Room is incredibly easy to evolve, as you just have to continuously defeat the puppet portal, which are easy to defeat even if you're soloing the portal. I think the best trait you can have on Law Room is unique, as he is a 3 placement, and alternative traits you can have on him is Sniper, that he will be able to teleport back more enemies with his huge range. Law Room's damage types are Magic and Storm. Okay, next unit is Leafy Sylph. Leafy is one of the newest units added in this update 14, and she's one of the best support to have in your team. Leafy Sylph is going to be useful for tournament, leaderboard runs, story mode acts, raids, and Infinity Castle, especially with her buff. Leafy Sylph stats at max upgrade and max level are 48,608 damage with her SPA at 7.5 seconds, making her DPS at 6,481.06, which you don't mainly use her for DPS as you will be using her for the buff. Leafy Sylph placement is 6, which you can double buff with Leafy Sylph, making your magic units have 100% more magic damage if it is done correctly. Leafy will only be able to buff units that are magic. Leafy is the brand new Wenda, as Leafy is insanely strong, especially she has an ability at placement, cheap to place, decent DPS, and can hit both air and ground enemies on placement. Leafy Sylph's damage types are magic and air. Alright, next unit is Luffy Gear 4. Luffy is one of the best ground units to have, especially he is extremely cheap to max upgrade, and at later upgrades he will be able to hit both ground and air enemies. Luffy Gear 4 stats at max upgrade and max level are 205,719 damage with his SPA at 6.4 seconds, making his damage per second at 32,143.59, which is incredibly overpowered, as you can place 4 of Luffy Gear 4. Let's go! Luffy Gear 4 at later upgrades will be able to hit both ground and air enemies, which is insanely strong, although he is no longer a multi-hit at his last ability, so he will struggle against shield enemies. Luffy Gear 4 is incredibly easy to evolve, as you just have to continuously defeat the puppet portal, which are easy to defeat even if you are soloing the portal. The best trait you can have on Luffy Gear 4 is Divine, as he is a 4 placement, although if you are going to be using Luffy Gear 4 in Infinity Castle, then the best trait you can have on him is Unique, which is Luffy is insanely strong for Infinity Castle on how cheap he is to max upgrade. Luffy Gear 4's damage types are physical and fire. Okay, next unit is Homura Time Traveler. Homura is the new secret unit added in this update 14, and she is one of the best ground unit, with her being one of the best units to have, especially with her overpowered time stop and amazing stats at later upgrades. Homura Time Traveler stats at max upgrade and max level are 115,142 damage with her SPA at 6 seconds, making her damage per second at 19,190.48, which is insanely strong, as she will be able to hit both air and ground enemies with her attack and ability. How to get Homura Time Traveler is through the Witch City Walpurgis secret portal, which you can craft using 4 time traveling shards. You can get these time traveling shards through the tier 5 and above Witch City portals. The best trait you can have on Homura Time Traveler is Unique, as you can place 3 of Homura down, and alternative traits you can have on her is Divine trait and Godspeed trait. If you didn't know, you could sell and replace and spam her time stop ability, which is insanely strong for tournaments. Homura Time Traveler's damage types are physical and dark. That was everything for this video on the top 10 must-have units in update 14. I hope this video helped you in some sort of way. Remember to subscribe and like, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.